Whether you are considering adopting a ferret, are planning to purchase one from a pet store, or already have one of your own, there are several things you're going to need to know to properly raise and care for your ferret. In the following scenes, we're going to walk through several different topics designed to teach you how to provide the best possible home for your ferret. And yes, I did say you. That's because the experience you have with your ferret is going to truly depend on you learning about and adapting your new friend into your life. These lovable social animals can be wonderful companions, and providing care for them isn't that difficult at all once you learn about their specific requirements. So follow me while I guide you through the ins and outs of caring for your new ferret. There are several supplies you're going to need to properly care for your new friend. You may already have some of these items, but if you don't, you are sure to find them at your local pet supply store. The first thing you're going to need is a house for your ferret. Homes come in many sizes and shapes and provide safety to your ferret when you're not able to watch him. It needs to be large enough for your ferret to have a place to sleep, to play in, and to hold a litter box with a secure area for his food bowl and water bottle. With a larger cage, you can have all sorts of toys attached to it for your ferret to play in. Along with the house, you should pick up a few toys for him to play with when he's allowed outside of his cage. Maybe a crackle blanket or some sort of fun tent is sure to do. It's a good idea to pick up an additional litter box to place outside the cage, and a leash and a pet carrier for that occasional outdoor trip. There are a few consumables that your ferret will need to keep him healthy and happy. You should have a good quality ferret food and some selected treats for his chewing recreation. There are also several vitamins and skin and coat supplements available from most pet specialty stores. Of course, a fresh supply of water is needed and should be available at all times. Just like cats, ferrets have easy grooming requirements, but it's still a good idea to have on hand a shampoo and conditioner, an ear cleaner, a tooth gel, nail clippers, a brush, and a ferret-safe flea product. All of these things will help keep your ferret looking, smelling, and feeling his best. Let's start off with a brief history lesson on the origin of today's ferret. Ferrets are members of the mustelid family, which include other meat-eating relatives such as the badgers, weasels, and even the otters. It is believed that the ferret's closest relative is the European polecat. Now, telling the difference between a ferret and a polecat can be difficult, but side by side, there are several ways to tell them apart. First and mostly, the ferret is smaller and just has a more fragile bone structure. A ferret is usually also lighter in color, while the polecat is much darker overall. The ferret has been domestic for so long that he no longer has the natural instinct to survive and hunt in the wild. In fact, we have dug up some very interesting events from the ferret's past that date back almost 2,500 years. The first findings of a ferret-like animal were mentioned by Greek authors in 450 BC. 600 AD, they were mentioned in the Isidore of Seville as being used to hunt rabbits. By the 1200s, ferrets had widely spread to Germany. Later this century, there is evidence that ferrets spread to Afghanistan and were used by Genghis Khan. King Richard II from England issued a decree in 1384 which allowed his clerks to hunt rabbits using ferrets. In New Zealand, 1877, the human-introduced rabbit population was out of control, so farmers imported the ferret to help control their population. And in the 18th to early 19th century, ferrets found their way to the United States while being used on ships for rodents control. It's clear that ferrets were used early on to hunt rabbits, both as a population control and as a sport. Just remember, today's ferrets are truly domestic animals, and they should never be thought of as a wild animal. As you can see, they have been domesticated for well over 2,000 years and have lost all of their natural ability to survive in the wild. And depending on which part of the world you live in, the average length of time that he can survive is a mere 3 to 5 days. By far, the most common use for ferrets today is as a companion animal. Did you know there are an estimated 8 to 10 million ferrets in the United States being kept as pets? Ferrets are unique animals and can be very suitable pets. They are small and easy to care for, making them ideal pets for people with smaller homes or apartments, and they have entertaining and responsive personalities. Ferrets are bred in a large variety of colors, from the snow-white albino to the dark black sable, with dozens of pattern and color variations between the two. Silver and chocolate are a favorite amongst many. Devoted ferret owners even attend ferret shows where their pets can compete in areas such as color classes, best dressed ferret, and races involving bags and long tubes. Ferrets generally make suitable pets in homes where cats and dogs live. There are generally no problems between cats and ferrets. In many cases, cats and ferrets make wonderful playmates. For the more leery cat, ferrets may be intimidating, but in these cases, cats simply ignore the ferret or seek higher ground when the ferrets come out to play. Many people fear that their cats will think that a ferret is a mouse or other small animal, a target to catch and kill. The reality is that most cats simply could care less so long as the ferret doesn't invade his or her personal space. Dogs and ferrets can peacefully live together and can also make great companions, but it is important to be very, very careful in your first few introductions between these pets to ensure that neither gets hurt. Also, due to their fun nature, many ferret owners have 2, 3, or even more ferrets in the same household. With a large enough home, they can live and play together. In pairs or groups, ferrets tend to take care of each other, and they can entertain themselves for literally hours. Now, there is a big difference between having children and pets and getting a pet for your child. Just keep in mind that a ferret is a lot like a cat or dog and will require the same kind of attention and care, and it is in no way like keeping a hamster or gerbil. If your child is older and responsible and you are going to supervise and help out with the care, a ferret will be a great pet. Otherwise, consider getting a low-maintenance pet you can keep in a cage instead. Ferrets in particular love to pounce and wrestle when they play, and children who tend to play rather roughly may prompt a more vigorous response from an active ferret. Ferrets may even bite when they play. These playful nibs can startle young children, and any frightened response from the child is surely to scare your ferret. As for babies and very young children, there are no pets that should be allowed around them unsupervised. Accidents can and do happen. Each family is different, so it is up to you to decide at what age your children are responsible enough to handle owning a pet. Ferrets are mischievous little characters by nature, so they should be caged or kept in a ferret-proofed ferret room anytime you're not at home or when you're sleeping. When you are home, your ferret will need to have some run time every day to keep him happy and healthy. Ferrets are extremely inquisitive little devils, and they will want to examine every inch of your home every time they are left out. Ferrets can fit into small areas, and so any gaps in your cabinets or crevices under refrigerators and other household appliances are common places for ferrets to get into. The best way to check for areas that your ferret can get into is to get down on his level and literally crawl the space that he will be allowed in. Look for any unsafe areas and be sure to remove anything that you think that your ferret could get into or chew on. Also, remember that ferrets can open cabinet doors, dresser drawers. They can even climb into things like bathtubs and even worse, toilets. Many times, the areas your ferret will fit into are places that humans can't even reach. The hoses that connect your dryer to the wall is a favorite place for ferrets to play, mostly because they can climb through the hoses which eventually lead to the outside world. If that happens, you may never see your furry friend again. Another thing to check for is household plants, cleaners, poisons, and things made of plastic. Rubber and foam are also favorite no-nos that ferrets will get into if they're not properly secured. If you don't want your ferret to take a one-way trip to the dump, never leave your garbage bag lying around, even for a minute, because that is all it will take for him to get into it and mistakenly be taken out with the trash. Similarly, every time you do laundry, you should shake out your clothing before it goes into the washing machine. If you pick up a handful of laundry and put it in to be washed, you could accidentally be drowning your ferret. Also, it's good to get into the habit of checking inside of things before you use them. Things like your dishwasher, garbage disposal, and even your refrigerator every time you close the doors. It takes just a second for your ferret to get caught in one of them, and the results could be terrible. Finally, the best method of ferret proofing is to pay attention and watch your ferret when he is out and playing. Where does he go and what does he do? By studying places that your ferret likes to play, you will most likely find places that need to be ferret-proofed that you hadn't even considered. Ferrets by nature are clean latrine animals, meaning they prefer to use one area for their toilet. Generally, you'll find that a ferret will relieve himself within a few minutes of waking up. Being the small predators that they are, ferrets are in the middle of the food chain, and their instincts are to find a sheltered corner. This way, no predators can sneak up behind them when they are doing their business. So, since ferrets are natural latrine animals, it is usually very easy to litter train your ferret. On the first day of training, try to wake up early so you can wake up your ferret, but do not take him out of the cage yet. Just let him explore a bit, and he should have to use the litter box within the first 5 to 10 minutes. If he starts to go in the wrong spot, be ready to grab him and move him into the litter box quickly. Look for signs like a lifted tail and him backing up to something. As soon as your ferret has finished and stepped out of the litter box, reward him with a treat, praise, and some fun playtime. With young ferrets, this process usually starts all over in about 3 to 5 hours. After a few days of this type of training, most ferrets get it, but if yours hasn't, you may want to try the following method. Start with a very small cage and add bedding, food, water, and a litter box. Make sure that bedding and dishes take up 3 of the 4 corners and most of the room. Put the litter box in the 4th corner with a little bit of used litter mixed in with the fresh litter. Again, try to reward your ferret every time he or she uses the box until they are using it consistently. Then, you can graduate him into a larger home. Just remember to clean up after your ferret daily. It's very unlikely that you will purchase a ferret from a pet store that has not been neutered or spayed. However, if you purchase your ferret from a breeder, he or she should be fixed before they reach sexual maturity. This will drastically reduce their odor, and it will prolong their lives. Believe it or not, once female ferrets go into heat in their first spring, they remain in season until successfully mated. If the mating does not occur, the female body will become fatigued from a common problem called aplastic anemia and can ultimately cause them to die. Unaltered male ferrets tend to be more aggressive to altered ferrets, and the odor that they give off is extremely unpleasant and is really not suitable for most homes. They also will mark their territory by urinating on anything they think belongs to them, which is probably just about everything in your home. So getting them fixed is best for everyone. One last note, ferrets are a very difficult animal to breed. So breeding should be left to professionals that are trained and equipped to handle their unique breeding and birthing habits. Ferrets are natural carnivores, meaning they like to eat meat, and because of that, they have very specific nutritional needs. It's not recommended to feed your ferret store-bought cat foods, as these are nutritionally incomplete diets and can cause medical problems. They must have a diet that is high in meat-based proteins and high in fat. Examine the label of any food that you feed your ferrets. In the ingredients section, look at the first 5 ingredients. The first ingredient should be some kind of meat, such as chicken, chicken meal, or chicken byproducts. Hard food keeps the ferrets' teeth clean and makes their feces less smelly. The food should contain at least 34% to 38% meat protein and 18% to 22% fat content. Be aware that some ferret foods contain high quantities of fish oil and byproducts. These types of food are softer, causing buildup on the teeth and also give the animal an unpleasant smell. Like all carnivores, ferrets enjoy eating fruit and sweet vegetables such as grapes, bananas, carrots, and peanut butter, along with many others. Just remember that every ferret has his own liking, so just keep trying until you find all his favorites. Also, ferrets have short digestive systems. Complete digestion takes place in about 3 hours. For this reason, you should always have food available to your ferret and supplement this with the fruits and vegetables as snacks and treats. Ferrets are fragile animals that must be handled carefully. They also are very sensitive to the heat, so be careful when you take them outside. When you do take your ferret outside, always keep him on a leash. There are some very good harnesses on the market for ferrets that have a place to attach the leash between the shoulders. Ferrets are very squirmy, and they can very easily slip out of these products. Even if you are in a confined or secluded area outdoors, don't let your ferret off of his or her leash. If anything should interest or frighten your ferret, he or she can dart off in an instant. Ferrets can run very quickly, and if they find cracks, animal holes, or other dangerous places to get into, you may not be able to protect or retrieve your ferret. Ferrets, for the most part, do not need bathing very often at all. While some ferrets don't mind being bathed, you really only need to bathe them once or twice per year. Bathing will not clean them of their scent, and in some cases may actually make it worse. If you bathe them too frequently, many times their skin will start producing extra oils to compensate, which will only make them smell stronger. The best thing to do is to change their bedding every few days, or at least once per week, and clean their litter pans every day. This usually keeps the odor level down. Keeping nails trimmed is important. Long nails can easily catch on things, and ferrets may panic and hurt themselves trying to get free. There are a few ways to trim nails quickly and with minimal stress to the ferret. Cut the nail just longer than the pink line inside it. Place the cut parallel to where the floor will be when the ferret stands to prevent the tip from breaking later. Be careful not to cut the line because it will bleed a lot, and your ferret might decide nail clipping is not a good thing. If you accidentally cut the quick, just apply some pressure with a towel and use a coagulant product to stop the bleeding. Coagulants are sure to be found at your local pet specialty store, but if you don't have any, flour or cornstarch should be a good substitute. Cleaning ears is also very important. They shouldn't need cleaning more than once a month, but if they seem dirty, use a cotton ball or ear swab and an approved ear cleaner. Hold the swab along the animal's head rather than poking it into the ear to avoid injuring the ear. Yellowish or brownish red earwax is normal, but if you see any black substance, your pet probably has ear mites and should see the veterinarian. When you do find it necessary to bathe your ferret, it's best to do it in a kitchen or large bathroom sink. First thing you want to do is make sure you have everything ready and at hand's reach before you get started. One of those detachable sink nozzles with the lengthy hoses can be your best friend when bathing your ferret. They are invaluable when it comes to making sure your ferret's coat is thoroughly rinsed out. If you don't have one, a large cup will do. Make sure you have a couple of towels handy, as well as your ferret-approved shampoo and conditioner if you like that extra soft coat. Okay, so now you have all the essentials lined up and you're ready to give him that bath. First, check to make sure the water is just right. You know you wouldn't jump into a shower that is too hot or cold, and you can bet your ferret wouldn't either. So to make the best experience for both of you, make sure it's warm and comfortable. Next, rinse him down really well, working his coat with your free hand to get it wet all over. Once he is good and soaked, apply the shampoo and then work it deeply into his coat. Be sure to work up a good lather around his neck, top of his head, chest, legs, feet, and tail. Try to massage his skin with your fingertips. Doing this is good for his skin, as well as it provides you with a good opportunity to check for any kinds of bites or bumps. Just be careful when washing his face, as the soap will burn his eyes too. Now you want to thoroughly rinse out all the shampoo, because leaving soap in your ferret's hair will dry out and irritate his skin. If you plan on using a conditioner, this is the time. Just as with the shampoo, massage it into his coat and be sure not to get it in his eyes. Rinse thoroughly one more time and then wrap him in a towel and pat him well. Lastly, wet a small corner of the towel and carefully wipe around his eyes and mouth, removing any goop that might be there. When taking a cat or a dog to a vet, most people feel fairly confident that just about any veterinarian will have the knowledge and expertise to accurately diagnose and treat their pet. Unfortunately, this is not the case with ferrets. Not all vets are up to date on ferrets, and you should make sure your vet is. An excellent method of choosing a veterinarian is to ask other ferret owners in your area what vet they use and how satisfied they are. Also, calling your local ferret club or checking with your local pet store should prove very helpful in finding a vet in your area. Any veterinarian will tell you that no matter what kind of pet you have, it needs to go to the vet at least once a year. First of all, they need their vaccinations, and secondly, ferrets should have a series of blood work run once a year to scan for various diseases. Ferrets seem to be prone to certain diseases and cancers. Many of the diseases that ferrets get do have present symptoms, but in some cases, once the symptoms have become visible, it may be too late to save his or her life. If you have a good veterinarian, have him examine your ferret annually, keep accurate records of weight gain and loss, and perform some simple blood tests. It is possible to detect disease before signs are visible and successfully treat your ferret. Just keep in mind that if a ferret becomes ill, they tend to deteriorate quickly due to their high metabolic rate. It is then very important that you provide proper veterinary care immediately. Here is a list of symptoms that you should watch out for. If your ferret stops eating or drinking for more than a day. If your ferret's stools are small, oddly shaped, or have an unusual appearance, or if your ferret has completely stopped passing stools, this is a sign of an intestinal blockage. If your ferret is lethargic, seems depressed, or doesn't seem to be as active or playful as usual. If your ferret is losing his or her hair over the hind end or on the top of the head, or seems to be balding anywhere other than the tip of his tail, this is a very serious sign of adrenal disease. Weakness in the hind legs, difficulty walking, or if your ferret is staring off into space frequently. Any rapid weight loss or weight gain should be checked by a vet. If your ferret has diarrhea, you should closely monitor his or her behavior for a day and check for improvement. If the diarrhea persists for more than a day or so, it must be checked. Dehydration is very serious in ferrets. If you suspect any kind of illness in your ferret, check for dehydration. Do so by pulling the skin on the back of the neck up and then letting it go. If the skin quickly returns to its normal position, your ferret is not dehydrated. The longer it takes for your ferret's skin to return to place, the more dehydrated he is. Skin that stands taut and does not go down is extremely serious and must be addressed immediately. And any other behavior that is uncommon or unusual for your ferret should be checked by a veterinarian. Ferrets are fun, mischievous little creatures that have been around for thousands of years. They enjoy human companionship and they enjoy interacting with us. They do great in pairs or even groups, and they can bring a smile to anyone's face. You can see that they are easy to care for now that you understand their wants and needs. Just remember, when adding a ferret to your family, that they are not toys. Ferrets are complex creatures, socially, psychologically, and physiologically. They require a great deal of special care and supervision.